This gentleman, this whistleblower, Mr. Ravenny, has volunteered to appear under oath before this committee. We asked you to hold his hearing on this, Mr. Bovee, until that opportunity was taken, and you decided not to. I think that's a mistake. If you question the veracity of Mr. Ravenny, he's ready to stand before you, raise his right hand, take an oath, and testify under oath. What more can you ask about credibility than that? And the Republicans refuse to even consider him. His attempts to account for actions have ranged from absurd to nonsensical. This is Mr. Bovee. But one thing is clear. He has repeatedly excused the conduct of those violent January 6 criminals.
What's going on, America? Welcome back to Right View Nation, where we speak the truth, defend our Constitution, and never bow to the woke mob or the Washington elites. Today, we're talking about one of the most disgraceful, petty, and absolutely unhinged attacks I've seen from the radical left in a long time. And that says a lot. Senator Dick Durbin, yeah, that swamp-drenched relic, just launched a disgusting smear campaign against a Trump-era nominee for the federal bench. And folks, it tells you everything you need to know about how scared these leftist gatekeepers are. So what's got Dick Durbin so triggered? Well, apparently, the thought of someone who actually believes in law and order getting a seat on the federal bench is just too much for his delicate, progressive sensibilities. He went on this long-winded rant, desperately trying to paint President Trump's nominee, Mr. AML Bovee, as some kind of villain. And why? Because Mr. Bovee dared to challenge the weaponization of our justice system. He dared to question the kangaroo courts that have spent years persecuting patriots while letting BLM rioters and Antifa thugs walk free. That's what this is really about. This isn't about qualifications or integrity. This is about protecting the establishment. Durbin had the nerve to throw the Epstein case into this, as if the American people haven't already seen the shady games played by both parties on that front. But what he didn't do, he didn't call for transparency when the FBI sealed the Epstein files. He didn't call out Clinton or any of his buddies. Instead, he's using it as a political weapon to sabotage someone who might actually serve justice. Oh, and let's not forget, his so-called smoking gun is a whistleblower who conveniently pops up just in time with text messages and emails. Give me a break.
On another subject, I want to speak on the nomination of AML Bovee, who should not be seriously considered by the Senate for a lifetime appointment to the federal bench. Lifetime. He led this administration's embarrassing efforts to strike a corrupt bargain with New York City Mayor Eric Adams, and he has been trailed by a history of complaints, long predating his affiliation with President Trump, about his temperament, his poor judgment, and lack of candor before the court. Think of it. We're talking about a judge for life. Attorney General Bondi conveniently did not announce her plan to keep the Epstein files hidden until shortly after our opportunity to question Mr. Bovee under oath about his involvement in this issue had passed. Given his role as Principal Deputy Associate Attorney General, it's hard to believe he wasn't involved in the Epstein cover-up. Senator Booker and I sent him follow-up questions to give him a chance to clear this up. Mr. Bovee refused to respond. But that's not the only issue that's grown more pressing in recent days. Erez Ravenny, a career Justice Department attorney who defended the first administration's immigration policies, filed a whistleblower complaint with my office ahead of Mr. Bovee's hearing. The complaint recounted that Mr. Bovee suggested Department of Justice might need to say, quote, F you to federal courts that issued orders that the administration opposed. Remarkably, Mr. Bovee couldn't deny delivering this message. He simply said in questions that Senator Schiff and I propounded to him that he did not recall whether he had used that kind of explicit language. So I asked Mr. Ravenny whether he could substantiate his claims. In response, Ravenny provided text messages, email exchanges, and other documents corroborating his allegations that Mr. Bovee had waxed poetic about violating court orders and spearheaded efforts to defy court orders and mislead federal courts. Mr. Chairman, despite your opening statement, this gentleman, this whistleblower, Mr. Ravenny, has volunteered to appear under oath before this committee. We asked you to hold his hearing on this, Mr. Bovee, until that opportunity was taken, and you decided not to. I think that's a mistake. If you question the veracity of Mr. Ravenny, he's ready to stand before you, raise his right hand, take an oath, and testify under oath. What more can you ask about credibility than that? And the Republicans refuse to even consider him. His attempts to account for actions have ranged from absurd to nonsensical. This is Mr. Bovee. But one thing is clear. He has repeatedly excused the conduct of those violent January 6 criminals. Mr. Bovee was the ringleader in an effort to punish federal prosecutors for putting January 6 offenders behind bars. I have this memo ordering their termination right here. Understand what we're talking about. You're a member of the Department of Justice staff. You're a prosecuting attorney. You're given an order to proceed with the prosecution of an individual. You do so. You execute it in a professional and legal way. What happened in this case is if it happened to be a January 6th insurrection mobster, you can be dismissed from the Department of Justice under President Trump. Think about what that says about our Department of Justice. Mr. Bovee was the ringleader in an effort to punish these prosecutors. And in his memo, he wrote that the prosecutions of January 6 offenders were, quote, a grave national injustice that's been perpetrated upon the American people. Not the conduct of the mobsters, the conduct of the Department of Justice attorneys who held these insurrectionists responsible for the damage that they did to our Capitol building and the threats to our government. These individuals desecrated our Capitol. Every member of this panel, virtually every member, some are new, every member of this panel who's been here for any period of time will never forget that day as long as they live. I respect this Capitol building as more than just a building. It is a symbol of who in the hell we are. And when these mobsters ran through it, rifled through our desk, posed for pictures, brought in Confederate flags, that was a sad moment in the history of the United States. You would never know it if you listen to Mr. Bovee's recounting of what he believes happened. He has called this a grave national injustice that they would be held accountable for attacking police. Each of you walked into this hearing room today confident that you were safe and secure. And you know why? Because that gentleman sitting in the back of the room is risking his life to make sure that happens. And 100 plus did so on January 6th. Are we to take these policemen for granted? I think that's awful. These individuals, these mobsters, desecrated our Capitol and attacked law enforcement officers who keep us safe to this very moment. To excuse their behavior by claiming that punishing them is a quote, grave injustice is a disgusting insult to law enforcement officials who literally risk their lives to protect members of Congress, staff, and legitimate visitors to this hallowed building. Mr. Bovee further insulted law enforcement by falsely claiming that, quote, heavy-handed tactics by prosecutors are, quote, equally unacceptable as physical violence against police. Think about that. He tried to equalize the prosecution of these individuals for crimes with the commission of these terrible acts on January 6th. I want to emphasize that point. This man believes that those who aggressively punish cop beaters are as bad as the cop beaters themselves. This false equivalence is deeply offensive by a man who wants a lifetime appointment to the second highest court in the land. It shows a ditch-deep flaw in the character and judgment of this nominee. Mr. Bovee also has acknowledged that he provided legal advice on President Trump's disgraceful decision to pardon violent January 6 offenders. His conveniently faulty memory came into play once again when he said he couldn't recall. He couldn't recall whether he assisted President Trump on this issue. Oh, pardons of 1,600 people who've been prosecuted? Full unconditional pardons? Can't remember. Was I part of that? Mr. Bovee lacks the judgment and temperament to sit on the bench. In the words of President Trump, the real reason he's been nominated is because President Trump believes he will, quote, do anything that is necessary to make America great again. Mr. Chairman, I yield.
Senator, I'd like to respond to what you said about Epstein and Senator Blackburn would, and then I'd call on Senator
Mr.
from
Chairman,
North Carolina.
can I be on the list to speak, Mr. Chairman?
You sure can be, yes. Senator
Mr.
Polk
Chairman,
will
I'd
be
also like to speak.
to be
These are the same folks who brought us the Russia hoax, the fake impeachment, and the January 6th show trials. Forgive me if I don't trust their timing. Now here's the part that really makes my blood boil. Durbin wants to act like he's the defender of law enforcement. Suddenly, he cares about the Capitol Police? Really? This is the same party that spent years calling to defund the police, bashing cops, and defending violent anarchists. But now, when it's politically convenient, they want to pretend like they care about blue lives? Get out of here. Let me be clear. What happened on January 6th was chaotic. But it's being weaponized to silence dissent and demonize regular Americans who love their country. Durbin doesn't care about justice. He cares about keeping his grip on power. And when someone like Mr. Bovee comes along, someone who challenges the narrative, the swamp starts to panic. Let me tell you why the left is really melting down. Because President Trump reshaped the judiciary. He didn't just talk, he acted. He nominated judges who believe in the Constitution, not critical race theory. He put people on the bench who understand the importance of religious liberty, the Second Amendment, and due process. Mr. Bovee is one of those people. He believes that punishing Americans for political reasons is wrong. He believes in equal justice under the law, not mob rule, not two-tiered justice. And for that, the swamp wants him destroyed. Durbin says Mr. Bovee called the January 6th prosecutions a grave national injustice. Well, maybe, just maybe, punishing grandmas for walking into a building while Antifa gets a slap on the wrist is unjust. Maybe targeting political enemies with the DOJ is a threat to our republic. Senator Durbin, let me give you a reality check. You do not speak for the American people. You speak for the bureaucrats, the lobbyists, and the globalist machine that has run Washington into the ground. You want judges who will rubber-stamp tyranny, censor speech, and punish patriots. But we're not going to let you. Not on our watch. Mr. Bovee represents the kind of judge we need: strong, fearless, and loyal to the Constitution. Not the mob, not the media, and definitely not to people like you. That's all for today, patriots. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video far and wide, because the real resistance is right here with we the people. Join the movement, stand your ground, and never apologize for loving America. This is Right View Nation, signing off. God bless President Trump, God bless Mr. Bovee, and God bless the United States of America.